An entitled mother demands that we give food to her at a discounted price, even though her son just ate half of it while in the store, claiming that he was hungry and that if we don't let them have a discounted price, then we are just monsters who would rather watch her son starve than eat some food. And I've honestly never been more blown away by somebody's entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. So I've been working as a cashier at a local grocery store for quite a while now, and I thought I'd seen everything, but this past Saturday, I encountered an entitled mother that left me both frustrated and baffled. Here's what went down. The store had a flurry of customers. Due to it being the day right before the Super Bowl, I'm manning a 14 items or less register right in front of the hot food section, which is always a hot spot for customers seeking a quick bite. At my store, the hot food is weighed, and that's so that a customer can choose how much food they want, depending on how hungry they are. Now, that probably sounds pretty straightforward, right? Well, apparently not for everybody. In comes the entitled mother of this story, with her son, who's maybe about 7 to 8 years old, happily digging into a container of hot food that's clearly half empty by now. They approach my register and the son is still eating, and I brace myself for the conversation I know I will have to initiate. As I'm scanning their items, I leave the hot food for last, mentioning that I will need to weigh this. The entitled mother then dismissively waves off my comment. She says to me, "Oh, my little angel was just so famished. I had to let him start. Just weigh what's left, darling." Now, at this point, I'm trying to keep my professional cool here. I say to her, "I'm really sorry, but we need to charge for the hot food before it's consumed. Since it's been partially eaten, it's difficult to charge accurately now." Now, you would think that I had just declared war on this entitled mother, because her demeanor shifts as she launches into a rage. She starts screaming at me, "This is absolutely absurd. My baby is hungry, and you're telling me you'd rather have a child starve than break your silly store policy? What kind of monster are you?" Feeling the situation slipping, I suggest to her that I call a service leader to see what we can do about this. As we wait for my service leader, the entitled mother doesn't miss a beat. She turns to her son and says, "Don't worry, sweetie. Mommy's gonna make sure you get to eat. These mean people won't understand how hungry you are, but I do." My service leader arrives, and after I quickly explain the situation, he turns to the entitled mother with a calm yet fierce stance, reiterating the policy and suggesting that in the future, she should consider paying for the food first, just to avoid any kind of issues. Well, the entitled mother was not having it. She said to us, "This is unbelievable. You are all completely unreasonable. I'm trying to take care of my child here, and you're all just being so heartless." Turning back to her son, she begins to say, "It's okay, baby. We won't come back here where the bad people don't let you eat when you're hungry." And with that, she leaves the cart behind. And this is a cart full of cold items that need to be put back quickly, while also leaving the half-eaten hot food behind. She storms out, proclaiming over her shoulder about how we've lost a customer, and that she'll be telling all of her friends about our cruel policies. My service leader thanks me for trying to handle it well, and we both have a pretty good laugh about the situation. The rest of my day was a blur of scanning items and greeting customers, but my mind kept replaying the encounter, astonished at the lengths some parents will go to baby their children, even to the detriment of understanding and respecting simple rules and merchandise. Yeah, that entitled mother was clearly trying to get away with something. Like I've learned in customer service, the more angry and belligerent the customer is, the higher the chance they're trying to pull one over on you. And this entitled mom absolutely takes the cake. She clearly was trying to get a free meal for her kid, or at least get something discounted in the process. And it's like, come on, you definitely knew the policy. You're just trying to skate around the issue and be like, "Oh, just cut me a break specifically." Because trust me, if you give her a break, she will be back with her stupid kid, and she will try that again when you're not there. So honestly, with all things considered, I think you handled this situation really well, because that entitled mother was being an absolute jerk. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled regular customer comes into our restaurant and constantly says terrible things to me and the other female staff members, and I'm honestly so annoyed with his attitude and his demeanor that I seriously can't wait to finally leave this job later this year. Here's what happened. So I'm a bartender who deals with an incredibly unlikable regular who we will call Colin. Colin is not his real name. He's one of these military men who's in his mid-30s and has a young daughter and a pregnant wife. He frequently spends all day drinking at the bar, being disruptive, and trying to trap staff in uncomfortable situations surrounding his opinions and worldview. Colin is well known for towing the line, especially when he speaks to female staff in my restaurant. Colin is not well liked at all. I am one of the few people who openly airs my disdain for Colin to his face, which which he seems to mistake for banter. He asked me once rather directly if I disliked him, and I told him he was not someone I would ever willingly choose to interact with outside of this building. Colin seemed to think that this was funny, and since then I've been able to openly insult him to his face, often in front of his friends and other regulars, and he just laughs, and I would call that an acceptable arrangement. I've told Colin off before for his abhorrent behavior, as with the time that he made a comment about the body of one of our hostesses by the name of Anne. Anne is not her real name. Colin is used to getting away with bothering people like this, but this time he was told that Anne is a minor, so he cannot talk to her like that. Colin tried to say that it was just a joke, but I told him to shut up and he did. I instructed Anne not to come near the bar whenever Colin is around, and that I would not let him get away with bothering her while she was just trying to work. The last time I saw Colin was about a week ago. I was arriving for my closing shift and taking over for the opening bartender. Before she gave me the rundown for her remaining tables, she asked me how my day was. I told her I recently finished a new tattoo, and we talked a bit about it as she's new to tattoos, but is becoming an enthusiast. I am known in the restaurant as the one with the tattoos after all. Colin happened to be sitting at the bar and was recently cut off by the opening bartender. He was not a part of the conversation, but seemed to be listening rather intently. He heard about my new tattoo and asked where it was and what it was. I told him it was a large portrait of a mythical figure on my thigh, and it's right about then that Colin responded in a way that I never expected. He said to me, "Okay, well let's see it, take off your pants." When he said this, he laughed really loudly and looked at the others sitting at the bar for encouragement, or perhaps a laugh of some kind, but was only met with other men staring intently at their beers and refusing to make eye contact. I swiftly told Colin, "Nope, try again." Colin backtracked and tried to say that it was just a joke, and instead opted to see if I had a photo. But still, I said no, Colin. Although he was cut off, he stuck around for a few minutes, loudly trying to engage with the other regulars at the bar, and trust me, they do not like him either. Colin eventually left to drink somewhere else. Colin is the bane of my existence, and seeing him immediately ruins my shift. I have taken it as my eternal duty to protect my less confrontational coworkers from his behavior and bully him directly whenever I see him. I hate him with a burning passion, and I often fantasize about the day that he will say something stupid enough that I can simply hand him his bill and tell him to go pound sand. To Colin and all other Colins out there, I hope you fall into an open sewer grate and are forced to live among mutated rat people, which is honestly exactly where you belong. Before we go any further, the original poster actually has an update. Here's what they had to say. Okay, so since some people are asking why Colin hasn't been banned yet, I wanted to give just a few reasons. The most important reason is that our GM who handles issues like this is also known for his poor behavior and doesn't see an issue with what staff have told him about Colin so far. He also hasn't witnessed any of Colin's less than acceptable behavior, and as such, he refuses to do anything about it. Now, I also want to answer why I'm still working there. Now, even though the GM is a jerk and regulars like Colin make me want to quit every now and then, I otherwise generally enjoy my job. I enjoy my coworkers and I enjoy the other guests that come along. Plus, I make some good money. I completed my bachelor's degree in December of 2023, and this job works while I get my next steps figured out. I am planning on being there until September of this year at the absolute latest, and I'm also planning on taking a long and well-deserved break this summer just to take an internship abroad. This is not permanent, but it is what it is, at least for the time being. Wow, that Colin guy is completely out of line. This guy literally was like, "Oh, you got a tattoo on your leg? Take off your pants, I want to see it." Like, I'm sorry, anyone with like a rational thought in their brain would have been like, "Yeah, you've got to go." And the fact that the general manager is not making that step, in my opinion, shows exactly the kind of person that guy is. Like, if I was the manager in that situation, that would be like an automatic ban. There would be no discussion about it. There would be no grace period or anything like that. That guy would be banned from the restaurant for good. So truly, I hope you're able to get out of that job sooner than later, because what you're working in right now sounds absolutely toxic. My boyfriend gets mad whenever I help him with his house, complaining that everything I do is never enough, while also making me feel like garbage just for helping. And right about now, I feel awful. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, so we've been together for 4 years. I often stay at his place over the weekend, but we don't live together. I have a small studio apartment, so he never comes to my place. He has a stressful job and he does online schooling, so he is pretty busy. He is also medicated and has been diagnosed with ADHD and struggles with executive functioning. He can't seem to do things like stay organized or clean his house or anything like that. Now, I have a full-time job, but I'm pretty organized and I'm very willing to help help him. Well, the issue is that when I help him, it backfires. It's like no good deed goes unpunished. To give an example, I had a conference last weekend, so I hadn't been over to his house in over a week. So when I got there, it was pretty unorganized. He said he didn't even have any clean clothing. So I did all the laundry, including all the towels and sheets and blankets, and trust me, it took quite a while. I also organized the kitchen as well as a few other things. And I don't feel used because he often pays for things, such as when we go out to eat, which does happen very often. Plus, I genuinely want to help him out. Well, this morning he texted me and he was very angry. He was upset because his shirt still had some dog hair on it, but I said that his clothes are covered in dog hair when I do the laundry, and I do my best to get rid of most of it, but some inevitably gets left on the shirt. Honestly, his whole house is always covered in dog hair, and when I'm there, I have to take allergy medications. I even bought him an air purifier and a Roomba, but there is still so much dog hair. But he sleeps with both dogs, so all the bedding is also covered in fur. Now, I told him to just use a lint roller, but he said no, that I should just get rid of the shirts if the dog hair doesn't come off. He then started complaining that I had only put some of the bottles of water in the fridge instead of putting all of them in there. I told him I just put the bottles from the pack that was opened in the fridge and didn't open all of the packs. Honestly though, I was busy and I just didn't get to it. He then tells me that I'm making excuses and to not bother helping if I don't do it properly because it just makes more work for him and upsets him. I know he was just in a bad mood because he was running late, but this is not a one-off situation. This scenario has happened several times over a variety of issues. It seems whenever I try to help him, if things aren't perfect, he just ends up mad. I have actually stopped helping him as much as I used to, specifically because of this problem. But then he just gets upset over that too. We have loose plans to live together when my lease comes up, but it's exactly this that gives me pause. He's really uptight about minor things, and I tend to get blamed for things I don't see as overly important. He says as his partner, I should be able to help him properly, I guess, even though I honestly try. And in return, he will pay for rent, food, and other things that we need. It's not that I don't want to help him, but it's just that everything is always wrong. So honestly, how can I address this with him? Today, I told him that him blaming me for things isn't very attractive, and that didn't go over well. I just need some suggestions on how we can work through this so that we can both be happy, because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, I'm gonna be completely honest here, but if this isn't a giant red flag that maybe you should not move in with this guy, then I don't know what will be. Because what you've described seriously sounds so obnoxious. Nothing you ever do is ever good enough for this guy. Here you are cleaning his apartment and folding his clothes and doing his laundry, and he still has the audacity to act like you're doing it wrong. But it's like, dude, you're missing the fact that she's doing it in the first place. Like, this guy sounds not only incredibly obnoxious, but also incredibly ungrateful. It's almost like he just doesn't care that you've worked really hard to try and get his house in order. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would really be reconsidering living with this guy, because what you're experiencing now would be happening all the time. Like, this would be every single day of your life instead of like over the weekend when you stay at his place. And I'm just gonna say it, there's no reason why he couldn't use a lint roller to get the dog hair off of his shirt. Like, that literally is so easy to do, there's just no good excuse for that. Like, at that point, he's just being obnoxious, trying to blame you for things that he clearly isn't taking care of. So no, in my opinion, you didn't do anything wrong, and honestly, your boyfriend sounds like a piece of work. Today, I messed up by doing a butterfly release at my wedding as a tribute to my dad who passed away 13 years ago. But unfortunately, it went incredibly wrong, and now I feel horribly embarrassed and I just don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So this didn't exactly happen today, but we're going on 2 years now and I can't get it out of my head. I'll preface this by saying that I had a beautiful wedding. The cake of my dreams, the 2 dresses of my dreams, a live painter, a live band, 175 of our closest friends and family. It was everything I wanted. The only thing missing was my dad. My dad passed away 13 years ago, and I knew I wanted to find a way to honor him. There was a time when I was younger where he played the song Butterfly Kisses for me, and he had us dance to it in the kitchen because he told me he knew he was sick and he wouldn't make it to my wedding day to dance with me. So when it came time to actually plan my wedding, I knew of course I wanted to honor my dad in some way, and the thought of that moment replayed in my mind. A butterfly release seemed like the most beautiful and sentimental way to honor him and have a really cool, unique experience at our wedding. Well, the wedding day was supposed to be in the 70s, and the temperature ended up dropping so much that morning. It rained when that wasn't in the forecast, and overall was just a seriously gloomy day. I didn't think anything of the butterflies, and I just went along with it. Sadly, because of the temperature drop, most most of the butterflies didn't fly away. They were too cold and ended up just falling to the ground. We did have a few that flew away, but most of them did not. It broke my heart and it made me so embarrassed. Not only was I embarrassed that this happened in front of all my friends and family, but I also felt terrible from a moral standpoint as well. I got so wrapped up in the aesthetics of the wedding that I didn't stop to think that maybe this wasn't a good idea. I feel like everyone was laughing at me and making fun of the situation. And still, almost 2 years later, I feel like I don't know how to move past it. All of the good stuff from my wedding I feel like is overshadowed by this one stupid thing, and it really just sucks. I ended up spending an hour of the reception in the bridal suite having panic attacks, especially since I'm already someone that has crippling anxiety. My husband and I have thought about doing a vow renewal, but we aren't sure how that will go over. We were considering at the 5-year mark inviting about half the people from the original day, but making it literally just a big party where we can just enjoy ourselves since we didn't even have a dance at our wedding, except for like 10 minutes when my husband finally convinced me to try and have a few minutes of fun. Anyways, I know it was wrong to do, so I don't need judgment towards that. I just needed to get it off my chest and hopefully try to find ways to move past it and get over it. Because honestly, even to this day, I still regret it. So I totally understand where the original poster's coming from, where they feel like they ruined that moment for themselves and they just like embarrassed themselves in front of all their friends and family. But honestly, I think people understood where you were coming from. Even though the butterflies didn't fly away in the way you were imagining, I really would be hard pressed to think that anybody's like making fun of you for trying to do that. Like honestly, even me just reading that's like the first time I've ever heard of anybody even trying that. So that really is like a unique idea. Like I really like that idea overall. But honestly, if they really were your friends and family, the last thing they're gonna do is laugh at you trying to have some kind of tribute to your passed away father. If they did laugh, then trust me, they are not friends and they are not family. So truly, I would not be too hard on yourself. I think the thought truly is what counts in this scenario, and I think your friends, family, and everybody at that wedding could definitely stand by your side and say that that was a beautiful gesture and that it really was a good tribute to your father. My friend knowingly started dating a guy I was seeing, and now they are actively calling themselves boyfriend and girlfriend, and I'm so devastated that I just feel so broken. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I was somewhat seeing a guy for about 5 months. He never made it official, seemingly because I go to school on the opposite side of the state, but we started talking right before I left for school, and we went from casual conversations to sharing our life stories and staying up until 5 a.m. flirting with one another. I didn't tell too many of my friends because with my luck, things stop working out when I tell my friends about a guy that I'm interested in. So I just told 3 of my closest friends, one of which was very supportive and thought it would be the cutest couple. We went on one date when I came home to visit family for a weekend and it went really well. Suddenly though, he pulled away and was acting different. One day I went on Instagram and I saw my friend post a picture with him claiming him as her boyfriend. Well, my heart shattered into a million pieces, and I didn't want to start drama with her because we work together. For reference, we both work at a fast food restaurant. When we worked together over holiday break, she told me she felt bad about dating him, knowing that I liked him and that it happened too fast, and she didn't want me to think that she was a bad friend or not a girl's girl. I told her it was okay because I didn't want to start drama, but it hurt me so much. Now I've distanced myself from her and him as well. She always posts pictures of them together on social media, and it feels like she's rubbing it in my face. I have always been there for her, so it hurts me that she would betray me like this. She is much more attractive than I am, so she could have any guy she wants. But of course, she picks the one guy that I'm interested in, and the one guy that was actually interested in me for at least a little bit. With tomorrow being Valentine's Day, I'm not looking forward to seeing their lovey-dovey post on social media. I'm upset with him as well. Even though we weren't official, we still had feelings towards each other. We were close and he betrayed me by dating someone who he knew I was close with. I just don't get why people act like this, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Wow, your friend is a piece of garbage. She literally went after the guy that you were interested in only after you went on a date with him and told her that you liked him. Like, that is so toxic, it's not even funny. And you know for a fact that's exactly what happened. Like, your supposed friend didn't even know he existed until you said, hey, I've got this guy that I'm really interested in. And then you showed pictures of him and told her more about him, and it's right about then that she started scheming against you. And that honestly is just not fair for you in the slightest. Like, in my opinion, if you have a friend who's interested in someone that you're currently kind of seeing, the least you can do is maybe check in to see if you guys are still dating or anything like that. But from the sounds of it, it really seems like she was already checking him out and getting with him while you two are still trying to figure things out. And that's why I think he suddenly pulled away and acted way different. It quite literally was your friend orchestrating all of this behind the scenes. So truly, with all things considered, I'm so sorry this happened to you. It really is awful that your friend betrayed you in this way, and hopefully you're able to move on and find somebody else. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.